with our webinar. Before we do, I just want to catch you up with a few things that we have been focusing on around here over the last week or so. And again, some of you who have been following us regularly, this will probably sort of overlap a little bit. Some of the stuff I'm going to talk about I touched on last week, but the first product I want to talk about is the Tuner Nerd Knock Monitor Pro. And I'd only just received this last week and got a chance to get stuck into it, and really hadn't got a chance to get it going. I'll just show you the Tuner Nerd Knock Monitor Pro here. So this is the unit, comes with a wiring harness as well that goes into your engine bay and attaches to your knock sensor. As well as that, it also will connect to either an ignition coil or a injector to get an RPM pulse. You've got the option as well of adding manifold pressure and air fuel ratio into this, so it is quite fully featured. And for any of you who have followed us for a while, anyone who's taken any of our courses, you'll know that I'm a really strong advocate for using quality audio knock detection when you are tuning, regardless whether that's on the dyno or out on the road. And one of the problems that we constantly get asked about is where can people purchase good quality knock detection equipment that isn't going to break the bank. Now, maybe not such an issue for a professional tuner who's going to be tuning several cars every week. Obviously, the expense of a quality knock detection system quickly pays for itself. But if you're only thinking about tuning maybe your own car, you do need to think a little bit more about the unit you're going to be using. Now, around here at HPA, the two units that I generally rely on are the Plex Knock Monitor version 2 and the Link G4 Plus Knock Block. Both of those have got their own pros and cons. The Plex Knock Monitor, very full featured, a lot of functionality on that unit, but it is quite expensive. The Link G4 Plus Knock Block, on the other hand, that's kind of my quick and easy go-to, much cheaper unit, very simple in that all it does is gives you audio knock output. However, the Tuner Nerd Knock Monitor Pro is one of those products that we have been asked about for a fair while, because it does on paper give a pretty impressive feature list. Off the top of my head, somewhere in the region of about $300 plus some freight. There are a couple of different packages, depending on exactly what you need. So on top of the audio knock detection, and basically there is a little headphone jack on the side of the unit. This actually goes into your laptop, and this is where the Tuner Nerd probably offers some pretty high-end functionality without a huge price tag. So it allows you, the software, to analyze the frequency being output from the knock sensor. You can then listen in as well, so you've got an audible trace. You've got the ability to set the frequency that it's going to be looking at to suit whatever engine you're dealing with. So long story short, once we've got it up and running, if we head across to my laptop screen, this is the sort of results we got. This is a very quick test with me purposely inducing some knock on this exact Vision 11 STI. So just to quickly show you what we've got here, up the top on the left here, we've got the frequency input, or the noise signal I should say, coming into the laptop software. And what we can see quickly here is, as we go from left to right here, we're going through a ramp run, and you can see the amplitude of that noise signal does increase. What we can see here is these little erratic spikes, and these are indicative of knock occurring. Now, what we can do here is set the frequency for the system to work at, and you can start by just choosing your bore diameter. In this case, the EJ engine that we're running, the 2-litre engine, has a 92mm bore, and that sets the upper and lower frequencies. So basically just helps the unit avoid some of the background noise, improving that signal to noise ratio. And then on the right hand side, and this is the cool bit here, during a ramp run, what it's going to do is sample the noise versus RPM. So at the moment we've got this hooked up to an injector output, so we've got that RPM trace, so that's important. That's giving us the RPM axis on the bottom here. Need to obviously make sure that's accurate as well. And so the idea here is, what we want to do is produce a ramp run on the dyno there where we're not getting any knock activity, and we can confirm this as well with the audio aspect of the knock monitor. And what we can then do is actually press a button on this, which will generate this white line, which we can see here, a little bit erratic here, which I'll explain in a second. And this is basically a background noise threshold. So this is the normal noise threshold of the engine when no knock knock is occurring. Now, I said it's slightly irregular because this little blip here, we actually had one very light hit of knock occur right at about 6,000 RPM, so that's why there is that little bump there. And realistically, what I should have done is gone back and removed some timing from that spot, made sure that we've got no knock activity, and then produced another run again. However, for the purposes of our test, it works just fine. And what we can see here is after advancing the timing 3 degrees in the top end, we can see that we've got a lot of knock activity, and that's shown here graphically, as well as we can see it in the actual amplitude trace as well, which I've already mentioned. And what the unit does as well, this is configurable, it will actually give you a very different audible ping when knock is occurring, so it's absolutely impossible for you to ignore that. So far with my brief testing, admittedly brief testing, it's actually been pretty impressive for the price point. There are a couple of things that I am a little bit nervous about, just because I've been through it before. In particular, the connector that goes into the body of the unit here. I fear that for professional use, where this is going to be in and out of multiple cars every week, that connector may not end up lasting the test of time. Obviously, some care is going to go a long way to giving it a long lifespan, and certainly if you are only using it on 1 or 2 vehicles, probably no issue at all. And the other aspect here is that because it is fairly fully featured, and we do have that RPM input to hook up, there is a little bit more involved in actually getting the unit installed, hooked up and ready to go. Of course, that's going to pay dividends because it does give you a fairly thorough analysis of what's going on. So we will probably be producing some more thorough content around that unit in the not too distant future, so stay tuned to our social media channels or our forum as well. I'll be posting about it in there, and we'll let you know everything that we find about it. Now, I just want to give you another update on our